Hello, everyone. Welcome. I'm Nick
I'm Seahawks Orbit.
I'm Shicey's Domain.
from Top Notch Sports, and this is the No Fly Zone podcast, episode 3 of NFL Week 5. We're already here, ladies and gentlemen. So today we got a few guys on with us. You're going to continue to see people join us, leave us. We got different experts coming on at every given moment. These guys run their pages on Instagram and all kinds of stuff. So again, be sure to give them a follow. But real fast, the very first segment of this episode is going to be what the hell happened to Cincinnati. So Shicey's Domain, you run an Instagram page, you cover the Cincinnati Bengals. What are your thoughts on what's going on in Cincinnati and Joe Burrow and everything going on over there?
Well, I think first of all, obviously the big thing has definitely been Burrow's calf injury. Burrow, like he's not necessarily a Mahomes type or even an Allen type of scrambler, but he's really good the second he gets to do play action and roll out. So I feel like that has hindered the offense. The offensive coordinator hasn't done a great job of working with that so far. And then, the Tennessee game was tough. You saw the defense playing phenomenally on Monday night and then come into a short week having to try to tackle Derrick Henry. You saw guys bouncing off them. Like they just did not have the energy needed to play that game. So, I mean, I think it's scheme. I think it's multiple different things. I think the guys kind of came in expecting to be the same team that they were last season, and the coordinators expected the same schemes to work, and it just hasn't. But it's a 17 game season. We're only 4 weeks in. There's definitely plenty of time to turn this around. But as of right now, it's not looking great in Cincinnati.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I don't know what just happened to my lighting in here. Our power might have went out. Let me ask you
You know
this.
what's crazy, Nick, is that literally there was like I don't know, like a fire like in the kitchen below my building, and so like everyone had to exit for a little bit.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on. But anyway, we're going to continue to try to get this thing going. Look, Cincinnati is 1-3, okay? And you don't want to fall low, right, especially in the standings in the AFC North, because the AFC North is really a tough division. And like you just mentioned, it's a long season, 17-game season. 1-3 start is not great at all. Okay, we all know that. Here's the thing. Joe Burrow hasn't been looking great. And again, I really got to credit this to the calf injury, right? It is the calf injury. Defenses are flying around the field at 100% speed, and Joe Burrow is honestly probably operating about 60% speed. So when that happens, that's really not what you want to see. Now, the thing is this. He still has a ton of weapons. Tyler Boyd, T. Higgins, Jamar Chase, Joe Mixon. There's a ton of weapons to get the ball to. They just haven't been able to. So, what's your opinion on the Joe Burrows? Look, you're 1-3, like you mentioned, right? You're struggling, but the weapons are there, right? How aren't they able to get the ball into these guys' hands? You got a solid run game with Joe Mixon. You got the weapons. Can't they figure something out with Joe? It's still Joe Burrow at the end of the day. So what's your take there?
The tough thing is it's his right calf, so it's the calf that he needs. It's like he needs to be pushing off of the throw. So you look ever since the season started, his throwing motion. He's had to throw all arm. So one, he can't get the ball out nearly as fast as he needs to. So that's why all of his routes are so short. And then defenses are now playing like the Titans played cover one basically the whole game. We're gonna make you try to throw deep on your bummed calf that you can't throw more than 30 yards on. You can't zip it. So we're just gonna really make you have to throw it as hard as you can again. And obviously bro just can't throw it as hard as he can when he's 100% healthy. So I
Yeah.
think that's one. So then defenses are just playing so uptight, and then just like the routes that the Bengals are trying to get Jamar and T and Tyler Boyd open on. You looked at the Rams game; they started using motion, and that had a huge effect on Burrow's efficiency. And then they just stopped doing that against the Titans. So I feel like they just need to come up with better ways to get guys in space, and then Burrow can still throw the ball 15 yards downfield. He doesn't have to throw 7 yards or under every play. You can stretch the defense out a little. You're not going to be taking a whole lot of shots. But again, I feel like the coordinator, like Zach Taylor and Ryan Callahan, have not done a fantastic job of adjusting to Burrow's injury. But yeah, I feel like you definitely have the weapons. There's got to be some way you can still be pretty efficient. They just haven't figured out what that is quite yet.
Yeah. And here's the thing too. Okay. At the end of the day, you know, this guy was ranked my number 1, 2, 3, 4. I had him ranked as my fifth ranked quarterback last year or coming into this season. That's based on talent and game day preparation. I think he's very smart. I think he has talent. And I still think he's probably my 5th ranked guy. Okay. My rankings don't change much because it's still the same things I like about Burrow then, I still like about him now. It's just that the injury really hurts these guys. And the guys that said Burrow's the #1 quarterback after last year, and the guys that are saying, he's a worse quarterback this year, they fluctuate way too much, right? Quarterbacks are still about the same talent-wise from year to year. It's just situation changes. And right now, the situation for Joe Burrow has changed a little bit. The thing that's driving me nuts is the team can still be winning games. They got the talent there. If Burrow's struggling, let Mixon run. And if the defense want to step up, he still, I know it's a cap, but he can still let it rip. You can still throw the ball with a calf strain, and I know he can. They got to get the ball to T. Higgins, right? He's been underwhelming so far this season. Besides that one game, I think it was last week, right? Not this past game, but the one a week ago, he finally got involved. And because they're probably going to be double teaming Jamar Chase. You got Tyler Boyd, too, who's one of the best slot receivers in the league. So they got to get the ball to their playmakers' hands. Seattle, what's your small take? I know you're not a Bengals guy, but you guys play these guys to, on October 15th at 1 p.m. Eastern. And if Seattle does what they just did to Daniel Jones, to Joe Burrow, he may not play the rest of the season. So, what's your opinion there?
Well, I actually have one question. How is the Bengals offensive line been so far this year? Like, I don't know if it's been good or not, but like just based on the offensive production, I don't know if it really has been.
I'll throw in there. I think he's been sacked 8 times this season, which would say that he's getting sacked about 2 times per game so far to this point. So,
not that bad then.
Yeah.
It's been better than it definitely was. That's for darn sure. The offensive line is not the reason for the offensive struggles. I'll put it that way. It's been play calling.
Super Bowl, you guys did not have a good offensive line at all.
Nope. So, you think with a good offensive line you'd be able to do something, but coordinators just did not come up with a way to use Burrow when his calf is hurt.
Sure. So, all right. So let me just throw this out there. Let me sum this up. Ultimately, you're 1-3. I had this team making the playoffs and making a strong push, possibly Super Bowl contenders. At 1-3, you dug yourself in a pretty deep hole. To dig yourself out of this hole, you're probably looking wild card if you can make it at this point, because the AFC is a tough division. Conference. The question is going to be, can they do it? So real fast, I'm going to put everybody on the spot. And I don't even know my answer yet, but I got a lot then, I guess. Do they ultimately make the playoffs starting at 1-3? We're going to start Seattle, then I'll go, then we'll sum up with Shicy's domain. So Seattle, what are you thinking?
Well, another question I have. Who are they playing next week?
Cardinals.
Okay. So you guys should win that game, but don't get me wrong here. The Cardinals, they're going to put on a fight. They've been doing that every week
for some
week
reason.
1. I can tell there's a difference in that locker room, and I can tell that Jonathan Gannon is probably getting the job done in there, which is nice. I think there's a real possibility that the Bengals could miss the playoffs despite all the talent they have on paper. But if they start to get everything in sync, then they'll definitely make the playoffs, in my opinion. But at this point in time, I don't think they're going to win the division, though.
Okay, so final point. This is, will they make the playoffs? You're on the spot. No, if this, if that, yes or no, it is a?
Yes.
Okay. I'm going to also say yes. I would find it, again, I could be kicking myself in the ass because 1-3 is tough to work out of. But on this team,
I'm not entirely sure about that. Yes, but I'm just going to go with yes.
The talent on this team, they should be able to figure it out and get to the playoffs. So I'm going to go with a yes. Shicy's domain. Don't feel you have to say yes because you run a Bengals page. What's your honest opinion? We'll all be held accountable at a later date. Do you think they make the playoffs?
Yeah, I think they do. They started 2-3 last season. They started out 0-3 in the division too. And they're 0-2 right now. And then, went on that crazy 10-game run. So we know, like we've seen Joe Burrow in all 3 of his seasons pick up steam after, kind of week 6, week 7. That's when he starts playing like MVP level Burrow. And he has a bye week in 2 weeks. He plays the Cardinals and then Seahawks. So if you can come out of that 3-3 and then get a bye week to rest up. I know you play the Niners next, but
pause. I actually have a serious question. Has he, like the other 2 seasons where you guys started slow, was he injured or no?
No, the offensive line was just not good the first 2 seasons. So he was just sacked. He was sacked 15 times through 3 games last season. So
it's a different thing this year. It's gonna be tough. They're going to have to fight through it. I think that we're going to see a real fiery Bengals team coming out next week against Arizona. But that Arizona team with Jonathan Gannon, I didn't like Jonathan Gannon. He's making that team fight, and it's going to be a fight next week. That's all from us. If you guys have any other questions, comment in the comment section below. We'll get back to you guys in a later date. We're going to get to the next segment now. Here we go. Segment 2 of the No Fly Zone podcast, episode 3. We're going to talk about the Seattle Seahawks. And we brought our Seattle Seahawks guy here, and Kyle just joined us, who's a Saints fan. And we're going to be talking about them a little bit later, but he's going to touch on this one as well. This segment's going to be, how far will the Seattle Seahawks be able to go this year in the playoffs? If they can make it, how far will they be able to go under Geno Smith? But before we do that, Seahawks Orbit, you have some apologies to give away, considering you were bashing a first-round pick named Devin Witherspoon, who I was very high on. So the floor is yours.
Okay, so
wait, real fast, before we even get there, let me just pull up some of the messages we received on Devin Witherspoon before I get too far. So let me do that real fast. Let me see how I can do the share screen.
Yeah.
Here we go.
I need to be held accountable for these because, yeah, they're not good.
All right, this is a little bit blurry, but let's see.
Oh, boy.
All right, guys, Seahawks, I'll let you read your takes here.
Okay. It's a little small for my end. The biggest bust of this class, Devin Witherspoon. Yes, I totally think he will be the player that my team chose. It's just so obvious already that he isn't that guy. Here is my hot take for this class. As a top 5 pick, Devin Witherspoon's career will be over in 3 seasons.
Next.
How each first round draft pick in the 2023 NFL draft will pan out. Prediction: Bryce Young average, C.J. Stroud stud, Will Anderson Jr. stud, Anthony Richardson bust, Devin Witherspoon bust.
And last but not least,
I did a survey to see how much of our fan base has already declared Devin Witherspoon draft bust. And right now it's sitting at 26%, which is honestly not as high as I thought it was going to be.
All right. So there were your messages. How are you feeling after the pick 6?
I'm feeling pretty shitty for what I said. Very shitty. That's unprofessional as fuck from me. I hold myself to a higher standard. This is definitely humbling. But I'm glad. I'm very glad that I'm being proven wrong right now. I'm very happy to see him succeeding.
Yes. So this shows us that we do not overreact because he's not playing in training camp.
Yeah. Man. I don't know what set a fire under me that day or rubbed me the wrong way. I think it was because I actually showed up to a training camp practice and he wasn't there for some reason and it was never announced. And so I assumed the absolute worst for no reason and everything just spiraled out of control. I can't even explain it.
Yeah.
But
so I mean,
there's just absolutely no excuse for it though.
Okay. Now here's a question. Okay. This guy was my number 1 ranked cornerback. I think he's the hardest hitting player. I said I would argue that he's the hardest hitting player in the entire draft class as of last year. He looked good. He got that pick 6. What are your feelings after last night and what he did?
He played amazing. If he's not NFC Defensive Player of the Week, I'm gonna lose my mind with the NFL because he literally recorded, I don't know, a statistic in 6 different categories. He had at least 1 sack, 1 pass broken up, 1 interception, 1 pick 6. Let's see, at least 1 tackle for a loss. I mean, I could go on and on and on about that game last night. I mean, he owns the Giants basically. I'm gonna term it that way. He owns the Giants.
So, all right, here's my question to you now. Moving forward, real fast. Does anybody, Shice, do you have anything about Devin Witherspoon coming out of the draft? Did you have any opinion on him or not really?
So I live in Nebraska, so obviously I'm a Big Ten guy, so you saw a whole lot of him in Illinois. That was him, right? He was out of Illinois.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. I was glad I didn't mix him with Christian Gonzalez. So I saw a whole lot of potential in him. I remember at one point I saw at the beginning of the season, it was man, he could sneak into the first round. He's projected to be like a third round pick. It's like he could sneak in the first round. With the Bengals being towards the end of the first round, it's like we could go up and nab him, which would be a big help. But I mean, you just saw, especially in college, he was all over the field. And then obviously last night he showed we put him at slot, which is super tough position, especially as a rookie to come in and play because they were short there, and he did everything that they asked and then some. So I mean, granted, I feel like the game was helped a little bit by what their defensive line did. Daniel Jones didn't have a whole lot of time, but yeah, that kid played a phenomenal game last night. That's all I've gotten him. He was exceptional.
Kyle,
Agreed. He was the best player on the field last night on that defense.
no,
Most impressive.
He played very. I mean, it was one of the most impressive showings. I mean, for a young guy,
He had a really good game against the Panthers too. By the way, I mean, these last 2 games have been absolutely insane, and I think he should be leading the odds for Defensive Rookie of the Year after just those 2 games.
Kyle,
The fact that he had more sacks than Jalen Carter, and Jalen Carter had like a month and a half head start, that's crazy to me.
Kyle, any takes from you? I mean, I know that you watched some of these guys, and did you have any take on Devin Witherspoon?
I mean, yeah, man, just watching it, like, there was a reason he's top 5 pick, and I mean, watching him in Illinois, I would say I'm a little hazy on everything now because since then I've been watching all the Saints draft picks.
Yeah.
But he was a good pick. He was an awesome pick. While at Illinois, he's like 6 foot. I believe his weight was around 190.
Yeah, he's
I mean, that's around where you want a cornerback at. He's fast guy. He's good. He's a good player, and he was easily the safe top 5 pick. So that's why it's not hard to see that he's a good player, no matter if he showed up to training camp or not, or had contract problems or not. He was always a good player.
Yeah, and that's what I said. So we got to make sure that we don't overreact to everything. But now, looking forward, okay, the Seattle Seahawks, they're 3-1, second in the NFC North.
But wait,
see,
I never read apology. I never read my. Oh.
Sorry, go ahead. Read your apology.
Okay, so, dear Devin Witherspoon, I sincerely want to apologize for calling you a bust before you even played a snap. I was truly being impatient while you were dealing with a hamstring injury, and you were out for so long to the point I thought it was going to hurt your development as a player. And in that moment, I truly forgot about what your game looked like while you were healthy at Illinois. I also want to make it clear I'm very happy that I'm wrong. Like, don't get me wrong. I'm very happy that I'm wrong here because, I would be sad if I was right anyway because, this is the guy that, my team drafted. And to be fair, I actually liked the pick at first, but then I don't know what happened. Just one day I just didn't like the pick anymore for whatever reason, just stupid reasons. See, I also want to apologize to all my followers for such a disastrous and appalling take. I hold myself to a much higher standard than that, and I truly let some of you guys down horribly. And I just want to apologize from that, and I'm going to use this as a learning opportunity moving forward. And there will be a punishment for this. So what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be buying a giant 3-foot spoon. Not kidding. I will show you guys proof. I will literally do this because, man, I mean, for me to just bash a player like that before he plays a snap, I definitely have to make it up in some way. I truly feel horrible about it.
So you're gonna buy a 3-foot spoon then?
Yeah, no kidding.
There
I
you
don't
go.
care. I really don't care if if it shows up at at the doorstep and my mom is calling me asking, why is there a 3-foot spoon, right in front of our door? Like, what's up with that?
Yeah.
I honestly won't care what anyone thinks. I'm going to be doing this no matter if it's embarrassing or not.
There you go. Everyone give him a round of applause.
I will explain the situation to everybody.
So congratulations on the apology. It's brave to do it. Last thing I want to say is you gotta say Nick told me so all along. Nick told me so all along.
Give credit to Nick, you guys. He told
I think
me.
you gotta tell everybody in the group chat an apology. 'Cause I think everybody told you, like, bro, what are you talking about?
Yeah. Okay, so that's that. Okay, we got that out of the way. Let's now get forward. We got to hurry up here because we're running out of time. Seahawks 3-1 in the NFC West. Looking good right now. They got Zach Charbonnet. They got Kenneth Walker. They got Jackson Smith-Njigba. They got Tyler Lockett. They got DK Metcalf. Really solid team. And Geno Smith's playing up the par still. The offensive line's not looking bad.
What about Noah Fant? Noah
Noah
Fant
Fant
looks
as well had a big play yesterday. All right, my question to you is, how far can this team go? I mean, I'm sure we're probably all saying probably playoffs, but I mean, after that, I mean, that's where it starts to get a little fuzzy. What are you thinking personally?
Okay, so it is still very early in the season. My original take was that we would go 10-7 and make it to the divisional round of the playoffs, win one playoff game, and then lose in the divisional round. My expectations are about the same. I still have us at 10-7. I have us maybe winning a playoff game. I do have some concerns still, but I'm very impressed with what's happened these last 3 games, especially that last one. I don't think I've ever seen such a game from our defense. We put up Madden numbers, 11 sacks, 3 turnovers, at least 6 tackles for a loss. We made Giants fans leave entirely by, I don't know, by the fourth quarter. They were just so fed up with it.
No, for sure. I mean, it was an ugly game for the Giants. I mean, it was just an all-around ass-kicking by the Seattle Seahawks. Bengals, real fast. What do you think? I mean, is this team a playoff team, and how far are you
wait,
feeling?
I forgot to give you my ceiling. I forgot to give you my ceiling. Okay, so right now my ceiling is going to stay the same. I think our ultimate ceiling is the NFC Championship game. We're a very young team. We still have some pieces coming together. Overall, I really, really like the 2023 NFL draft class as a whole. I mean, Devin Witherspoon is literally, he took over the media like that. Like, he was all over the place. He was all over Instagram, all over Twitter, or it's now called X, but he was pretty much on every platform because of his performance last night.
Yeah.
And then we got Jackson Smith-Njigba, which I don't have any concerns with him. I know he's a phenomenal player. It's just, we have to use him more, like what I've been noticing through the first 4 games is that we've been using him for mainly screens and jet sweeps. We got to get him more involved in this offense. I know he has to share the field with DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett. I'm well aware of that. And he also has to, share the field with 2 really good running backs. And so I don't blame him at all for the slow start, but we just got to get him more involved. Like, honestly, I know he's only a rookie, but if you're going to take a wide receiver in the first round, you better use him.
No, I agree. And I mean, I think they're going to get him utilized more. They got to start getting the ball his way more. But so you're saying conference championship is a ceiling. I'm guessing you're probably right around the divisional round, though. It's probably like a good spot to say that they'll probably get to.
Yeah. But the ceiling, in my opinion, is NFC conference championship game.
Okay. Bengals, what do you think? Real fast. We got to be quick here.
Seahawks, Bengals, Super Bowl. Boom. No, I think that they're in like the tier 2 of the NFC teams. I feel like the Niners and Eagles are just such juggernauts at this point. I feel like it'll be so tough. We'll see when the Seahawks play the Niners. We'll see when the Seahawks play the Niners.
Bad.
Yeah. We'll see if they can compete. Divisional playoff games are always a little iffy. You could have beat them twice in the regular season. You'll still be like not comfortable, but
yeah.
Yeah, I think divisional round. I think that they have a good enough defense and definitely like their offense is definitely capable. So yeah, I think divisional round is definitely another possibility. I'd put them right around there too.
Yeah. Kyle, what are you thinking?
I mean, when looking at them, it's hard to say they really would go much past the wild card. Their defense has not been good. 27 points by Andy Dalton and the Panthers is a lot of points from Andy Dalton and the Panthers.
That's not ideal.
Quarterback wise, even after now a season and some with Geno Smith, I'm still not sure what we have in Geno Smith. I think it's more of a game manager. So I would say you have a weak defense. Your quarterback isn't. I don't know if your quarterback can win you games in the sense of fight from the back and get you there. I'm not sure what we have in Geno Smith yet. So I mean, it could be playoffs, but I don't see much past the wild card.
Yeah, and I'm saying the same thing. I think they're gonna. I do believe they'll make the playoffs. Right, it's gonna be, a wild card team. And I think that we're going to see them right in that wild card to divisional round. Hell, I mean, anything can happen. If you get in the playoffs, anything can happen if you start to get hot. This team can get to the conference championship. And hey, again, if you win another game, you're in the Super Bowl. So anything's possible. But I feel like a realistic expectation for this team is that divisional round. And that's where I kind of expect them to be. Probably losing the divisional round. But hey, they can build on that next year and hopefully get another good draft class and move forward. All right, here's our third segment. Okay. And after a good game by Zach Wilson, we got to talk about his breakout game for the Jets and all the scrutiny this guy's gotten. Especially by Rodney Harrison, going out there and saying he's garbage and stuff. And the way Chris Jones handled that was absolutely phenomenal. Zach Wilson looked good. And I've been defending this guy for quite some time now. I had him high coming out of the draft class. I think all the talent's there. You heard Chris Collinsworth kept saying it. The talent is there. So here we go. We don't have a Jets guy on with us, but we got two other football minds. One from Seahawks that we've already been talking to this entire time. And Kyle here too is a Saints guy. What did you guys see from Zach Wilson? And are you starting to see the development? And is this a breakout performance to hopefully be something that he can start to build on? So Seahawks, I'll start with you. We got 7 minutes for this entire segment. What are your thoughts on Zach Wilson?
Oh, I think he played a very solid game considering the circumstances. It just seemed like, when he had time in the pocket to throw, he was able to read the defense perfectly and was just able to keep the Jets in the game. None of that game, well, for the most part, it wasn't his fault, except for the fumble at the end. But other than that, he put his team in a position to win and pull off a major upset in prime time. And I thought that was very impressive. And considering all the criticism he'd gone through, considering pretty much the whole NFL world was mocking him, I actually found it amazing that he finally broke through and made a statement, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And I think he will continue to make a statement moving forward. I don't know if the Jets will make the playoffs ultimately. Right now, the odds are against them because they're like, what, 1-3 now?
Yeah.
And so, I think Zach Wilson will have a good third season. But at the end of the day, considering it's his third season, we don't know if that's even going to be enough at this point.
Yeah.
But the matter of the fact is, he stepped up his game last night, and I think he's going to continue to do it.
He went toe-to-toe with Pat Mahomes, and I actually think he outdueled him in that game.
No, he clearly did. Patrick Mahomes had there were like two passes where that were like intercepted. And I just lost my mind because he threw it straight at the defender, like at the defender. Some people might think that's like what Zach Wilson would do, but that's not what Zach Wilson did last night. He played more like Patrick Mahomes, in my opinion.
Yeah, well, that's the thing.
Roles.
Yeah, what I'm trying to say is that he went toe to toe with this guy and he ultimately outdueled him. And again, if Wilson made the mistakes that Mahomes made in that game, he would be scrutinized so badly. But when Mahomes does it, he gets a free pass. And again, this is what I mean by the national media, that you got to be fair with everybody. You can't just always knock Zach Wilson because he's down and is an easy target when Pat Mahomes is making the same mistakes. And we don't criticize Mahomes because Mahomes can make some crazy plays. We understand that, but that doesn't mean that we should let it slide. If you don't let it slide for one guy, you can't let it slide for another guy. And I know Mahomes makes some great plays, but still, you shouldn't be making some of those bad throws.
I would definitely have that.
Yeah. Wait. I was gonna say, Nick, you mentioned the media. Chris Collinsworth, even after Patrick Mahomes was just making all those terrible throws, he continued to glaze him, absolutely glaze him, calling him a champion, calling him a winner. He can't criticize the guy. I legitimately think Chris Collinsworth has a mad crush on Patrick Mahomes after what I watched last night.
He may. Kyle, what were you going to say, Kyle?
All right, okay, first of all, I'm going to talk about Zach Wilson now. I'll talk about what we're going to talk about. First of all, Zach Wilson's first 3 games this season, you played some really good defenses. You played the Bills, you played the Cowboys, you played the Patriots. Those are not easy defenses to go against. Obviously, the Cowboys ate them alive. The Bills, another good defense. So, I mean, when you say the talent is there, it's definitely there, and he's playing against other talent, and that's where it all comes down to. Zach Wilson definitely has talent. You can see the support around the league from all the players, by the way. Everyone stepping up when They were trying to get Chris Jones to say something bad about him, and then that blew up on Twitter. The support there is for Zach Wilson. He has all the tools to be a good quarterback. He's only 24 years old, so it takes time. I don't know if it'll be with the Jets, to be honest with you. It may be a backup thing, and then or fighting for a spot on a bad team. You know how that goes. I believe that's in the bags, but he definitely is talented. He does have the pieces around him right now as well to succeed. So it is up to him to put a show out if it's not for the Jets, for other teams.
Yeah,
And
you had.
And then the second thing I was gonna go with, I completely disagree with you about the Patrick Mahomes. You tell him he makes a mistake, and Zach Wilson, you criticize him. Look, as you guys said, not Zach Wilson. Patrick Mahomes is a winner in this league. He has his accolades. If he messes up, he can mess up a few times. He can mess up a lot because what he can do is get himself out of there. Because not only did Patrick Mahomes mess up last night, but he's the one that ultimately made the plays with his legs to win that game. He is a winner, and when you're a winner and you have the accolades behind you, you can mess up one time and then the people criticizing you, it's not going to impact you. Zach Wilson, he hasn't won much in this league yet. He isn't in any star level yet, so if he makes a mistake and it's on primetime TV, he's going to get that backlash.
Yeah, and we got 2 minutes, so we got to sum this up fast. But this is what I'll say to that. Do I agree with you? Yes. In the sense of media-wise, absolutely. I believe that, again, when Wilson messes up, it's going to be magnified because, again, he hasn't proven it. And like you said, Mahomes is a winner, and he can't – everybody's going to make mistakes, right? I'm not saying that you crucify the guy for making a mistake because he makes so many other plays. The thing is, though, you got to be fair for both the guys. If someone throws – it doesn't matter who you are.
Exactly.
Interception.
Exactly.
It's a mistake. And whether that's Mahomes or Zach Wilson or Justin Fields or Trevor Lawrence, an interception, especially if it hits off the guy's hands, okay, the quarterback really couldn't do much about it. But if it's overthrown or underthrown, or you're just making a stupid decision like Josh Allen does, here's another thing. Josh Allen's an elite guy. I know he hasn't won a championship yet, but he's elite. If he makes an interception, he gets scrutinized. Mahomes doesn't, because they say, Josh Allen's a bonehead. I don't know why he gets this bad rap. We got a minute left. Here's my final question. I just need a yes or no real fast. At the end of the day, after this game, and looking forward now, but this is a good building block, do you believe that Zach Wilson will be the future quarterback of the New York Jets? This is a tough one, and just yes or no. We got to be fast. Seahawks, start with you. Yes or no? No context. Just yes or no.
No.
Okay.
Unfortunately, no.
Kyle.
No, I don't know, but no.
I don't know either. I hate that question. I wish there was allowed to be contest, but we got less than a minute. I'm going to say yes. I'm just going to say yes. We'll see. I'm probably going to be wrong. That's all from us. After the Aaron Rodgers things, I think he'll be there. I think he's going to continue to build, and they're going to hold him around. All right. For our next segment, we got, should the Las Vegas Raiders look into firing head coach Josh McDaniels? Now, Kyle, again, you're a Saints guy. But I'll let you speak on this because Josh McDaniels and this organization. And I mean, looking at it from an outside point of view too is huge. And I'm a Raiders fan, so let me just go on a little bit of a rant here. Just earlier today, I tweeted about there was a video that went loose of a bunch of fans, okay, from the Raiders were screaming at Mark Davis, telling them that they should fire, Josh McDaniels. Mark Davis responded. He retaliated and told them to smarten up. So clearly it shows that he still supports Josh McDaniels, but the Raiders haven't looked good. Let's be honest. They have completely regressed since John Gruden left Las Vegas. What do you think? I mean, being an outsider, looking at this organization from an outside perspective, looking in, has Josh McDaniels, had a fair shot, or has he regressed this team? Or, I mean, do you think he's getting unfair criticism? What do you think from the outside looking in?
Well, from the outside looking in, what you can see is the Raiders have a lot of talent, at least offensively, and not much is coming from that alone. You got Josh Jacobs, Devontae Adams, Jimmy Garoppolo's not talented, but you can see he's talented, but you can see what he does with talent around him, right? Like when in San Francisco, they had a good offense even with Jimmy Garoppolo running it, and you're not getting the same out of that with Josh McDaniels, which understandably you're not the same. They're not the same as the 49ers, but there's so much talent on that team offensively at least, and you should be getting a different product. I want to bring up that you talked about the John Gruden, ever since John Gruden left. And John Gruden was, he got the best for you out of Derek Carr. You guys were winning with John Gruden, and the situation that transpired where he ultimately ended up out the job, and you guys had to get in replacements for him. Um, you can just see the difference. You can see the difference there. That one was winning. You were winning games. You brought out the talent, and Josh McDaniels, even with Devontae Adams, John Gruden never had. It's not getting the same product.
Yeah. Let me put it this way too, because a lot of it goes around with the Raiders, and I hate to keep on bringing up the past, but it's the recent past, and I feel like you got to look at it, because if you don't look at it, we're just trying to, turn a blind eye. We're acting like, oh, it never happened, so we can't talk about it. John Gruden and Mike Mayock, everyone wants to knock the Raiders for missing on draft picks. I mean, again, being an outside guy, right? I mean, they did miss, right? Cleve Farrell, Alex Leatherwood, right? There was definitely misses there. But when you also think like Gruden got, right, our franchise left tackle and Colton Miller. We also got Divine Diablo, a linebacker that's still there. They got Josh Jacobs, who's a franchise running back. They drafted some sleepers, right? Like Max Crosby, who's a franchise edge rusher, and another franchise player in, I'm drawing a blank now. We got Trayvon Merring was another guy that I feel like is going to be a franchise guy as a free safety position. Henry Ruggs was honestly going fine for the Raiders. And as soon as Gruden left and resigned, that 1 week where there was a transition period between coaches, Henry Ruggs went out, and next thing you know, the thing happened when he crashed. So you got to wonder, I mean, if Gruden was still there and there wasn't that transition period and maybe the team kind of loosened up a little bit, would that have happened? Yeah, any little thing could have changed every single instant, like little tiny thing that happened. And, you think about it, Henry Ruggs was a clean guy. There was nothing wrong about him out of Alabama. He was a phenomenal person. I just think a little tiny mistake, man, completely changed that man's life, and it changed the lives of many others too. And again, I absolutely do not, I do not, I'm
Condone.
not saying it's okay with what he
Yeah.
did. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? But it just stinks because, what happened was so unfortunate. You know what I mean? And for that to happen, just for the Raiders, for him, for the families all affected, it stinks. So what's your opinion? I mean, everyone knocks the Raiders drafting, right? Or net and stuff, I know. But they had their fair share of hits with Hobbs, Foster Moreau, who was a guy, Darren Waller they brought in. What's your take? I mean, just looking at what Gruden and Mayock was able to build, did they build a solid team, or was it just, ugh?
Oh, well, I mean, the first round picks thing, that really, like, the first round, they missed so much in the first round, and you have like franchise changing players all around in the first round. That's where you're gonna really hit on those guys, and they missed on Leatherwood, Arnett. I guess you could put Ruggs in there, like, and Cleveland Farrell. I don't even remember his name fully, but
Yeah.
you missed on a lot of first round guys, and there's so much talent in the first round. You really don't want to keep consistently missing. And me as a Saints fan, I've seen the Saints do that with defensive ends, Peyton Turner, Marcus Davenport, who they traded 2 first round picks. That it starts getting. I understand the frustration when you start missing on the first round, because those guys could really be 16-year veterans or 10-year veterans that are consistently putting up big numbers for you. So I get the frustration that's there, but I mean there is good players in that roster, and there's talent, and they even used some of that draft. Well, not Gruden, but like when Devontae Adams came in, they're willing to make moves. So the roster there is there. I would say you guys probably have a shakier defense, but the talent is on the roster is there, and you're just not getting the best out of it, or what I even think is the good parts out of it. You're not really pulling the talent out of the players and seeing it every day.
And that's the issue, right? Because the talent's there, right? I always say, here's my opinion. I coach football, and I always say this to everybody. I say it to the parents, I say it to my other coaches. A good coach makes lack of talent exceed, right? Like Mike Tomlin's been able to make a pretty shitty Pittsburgh team for years compete. That's a good coach. A bad coach is a coach that takes talent and makes them look like crap, right? Maybe like the Raiders, right? They got talent and they look like crap. And an okay average coach is a guy that takes average talent and makes them look average, or makes good talent look good, or bad talent look bad. That's an average coach, right? They don't make the team better than they are, but they also don't make it worse than they are. Josh McDaniels may fall under a bad coach, because I think the talent's there, especially offensively. I mean, Hunter Renfrow was an 1,000-yard receiver under John Gruden and Derek Carr. He's not even getting the ball thrown to him right now. And again, here's another reason why I think that Josh McDaniels should be fired. He took talent that was there. He came in, him and Ziegler came into the Raiders, and they promised the Raiders fans that they were going to come in, build on the team that was there, and be playoff contenders. And they absolutely failed on that agenda. And when you fail on your promise, you should be fired. And they promised the people that they were going to take the talent, add Chandler Jones, add Devontae Adams, and win. And instead, they got rid of Jonathan Abram. They got rid of Trayvon Mullen. They got rid of Cleve Ferrell. They got rid of Derek Carr. They got rid of Darren Waller. They're getting rid of, let's be honest, they got rid of Foster Moreau, but Devontae Adams isn't going to be around too much longer if we keep this up. Josh Jacobs isn't going to be around too much longer if we keep this up. So when you tear apart the entire team and you try to make it the Patriot way, look what happens. I mean, how many times have we saw this fail over and over and over again? Multiple times. So when you ask me, should he be fired? I believe so. It doesn't look like it's going to happen. But what's your final opinion? Do you believe, I shouldn't even say should he be fired, because I feel like we're all going to probably say yes, but I'll let you touch on that. But also, do you think Josh McDaniels, when his tenure's over with Las Vegas, does he turn this team around before he's fired? Let me ask you that.
I don't think so. I don't think Josh Jacobs is a Raider next year. He signed a 1-year deal, right? It's the 1-year deal.
Yeah, it's a franchise tag. Yeah.
Oh, he's still on a franchise tag. Yeah.
Well, they made a 1-year.
Okay. I get what you mean.
They modified
the Saquon. Yeah, the Saquon. Yeah, so I don't think Josh Jacobs is a Raider next year. And when you lose your running game, and I'm with the crowd with replacing running backs is pretty easy, but you have talent Josh Jacobs that someone's not going to be able to replicate at least right away. And you're going to lose your running game. Jimmy Garoppolo needs a running game. Devontae Adams needs to win. He doesn't want to be a part of a losing team consistently. So I think one more failing season is probably going to drive a lot of your players out, and you're going to have to go to a rebuilding / regroup stage. And even if he's given another year, it's not going to be enough.
No, I don't think so either. And I 100% agree with you said. I think that, at this point, you might as well give him another year because he got rid of everything. It's not like we can have someone come in and save the Raiders, right? We're going to still have Carr. We're going to still have Jacobs. We're going to still have Waller and Renfro. And that once McDaniels is gone, we still have everything that Gruden built and Mayock built, and we're going to be fine. It's all gone now. They got rid of almost everybody that they brought. It's going to need a rebuild. So you might as well give McDaniels one more year, let him fail again, and then just start it all over. But it just stinks because people like Mad Max Crosby, he's playing in his prime right now. He's going to only get better right for the next few years, but you still want to hit right now. And we're just not there. And now you got to start to wonder, like Gruden did. He traded away Khalil Mack for 2 first-round picks. He traded away Amari Cooper to get draft capital. So as much as I love Mad Max Crosby, and I never want to see that guy go, and Devontae Adams is a hell of a player, you got to start wondering when this new regime comes in, or even McDaniels, if they fail again, will they begin that rebuild process, and will Mad Max Crosby and Devontae Adams be Raiders long-term? That's the question I want to hear from you guys in the comment section below. That's all from us. Again, I don't think either of us are happy with Josh McDaniels and what he's been able to do for the Las Vegas Raiders. Again, real fast, one more thing I want to mention. Josh McDaniels' all-time coaching record is 18-31. And Coach John Gruden, that everyone wants to hate on because, and again, it's not because of stuff that he did. What he did was wrong, right? His emails, absolutely. But the reason why a lot of Raiders fans hate on him, because they feel like he wasn't getting the team in the right direction. And his all-time record coaching was 117-112. He has a winning record. Again, Josh McDaniels, 18-31. So, yeah, that's not good at all. That's all from us. We're going to do the next segment now. See you guys soon. Peace. We are Built Better. All right, our final segment of the day. We're going to be talking about the New Orleans Saints and Derek Carr. So I believe the way I phrased this segment was, how far can Derek Carr take the Saints and the Derek Carr debate? So I'm going to go into a little bit of rant eventually. But first, I want you to just tell me what you think, and I'll get into the Derek Carr debate because that's more Raiders fan base stuff. But before we get there, you talk New Orleans Saints and Derek Carr. Go ahead.
Okay, so Sunday's performance was absolutely terrible, man. 9 points. Actually, I want to get this out the way first because I know some Saints fans maybe will try to say this. I don't know because a lot of people, I haven't seen it a lot, but I know it could be used. Derek Carr's injury has nothing to do with his performance on Sunday.
No.
He said he's good to play. If he says he's going to play, the option to play Jameis Winston was always there. He said he's going to play. That excuse completely goes out the window. He missed on throws. That's his fault. That's not his arm's fault. He missed on those throws. Okay, now with that being said, Sunday was probably his worst game. Well, it was his worst game as a Saints. I think he had like 3.4 yards per attempt.
Yeah.
Like that ball was not moving past 5 yards. It looked like Desmond Ritter football out there. It was absolutely terrible to watch. There was a few deep shots that he took, overthrown, underthrown. It never was on target deep. He just underthrew some passes in general about that mid-range, 15, 10, 15 yards, just underthrew them. And you can't blame that on an injured arm. And it looked bad. Alvin Kamara came back. He had 13 receptions for 33 yards. That is less than 3 yards of reception, man. Like, you really got to think. And a lot of those yards came up his run after catch ability. That did not come from it was just all bad. I mean, I don't know if the Buccaneers played too high safety and that was just scaring Carr. And the Saints haven't been able to move that ball much downfield. But the argument that a lot of people bring up, and I'm still willing to lean towards it, is Pete Carmichael has not been calling good games. Week 1, honestly, I thought it was a pretty good game by Pete Carmichael. They used a lot of motion. You do a lot of things to trick the defense to get the offense rolling. Week 2, a bad game against the Panthers. Derek Carr had a pretty bad game again. Week 3, I really thought Derek Carr things started rolling, and then he got the injury. So I really just can't have an opinion about that one. And then obviously here week 4, it was a bad performance by Carr.
Yeah, I mean, I watched the Dennis Allen press conference, and he mentioned because they kept on asking about Carr. You probably watched it too. I mean, I die for watching Saints content because it was my quarterback for 9 years, and I still feel like we did him wrong. And I've watched this guy struggle, and I watched this guy play good. I watched that game. The line looks better. Your offensive line looks better. Okay, so that's a positive. The defense is looking a little bit worse. It's looking a little bit worse. I think it's because the offense isn't really scoring and they're keeping them out there so much.
I believe that.
Yeah, I mean, that's probably the case. From an offensive point of view, Dennis Allen mentioned, he said that he thinks that Carr really only missed 2 throws. The one deep shot down the sideline where he underthrew it, which I agree. And then he had one to Michael Thomas. He said he threw it a little bit behind him. Mm-hmm. I remember a few extra throws. I'd probably see the 2 deep shots that he took. I think they were just like, helmet, just throw it up and see if this guy can go get him. I don't really remember him missing too many other throws, like missing. The issue is, and the announcers keep saying it too, when the announcers are saying it, it's kind of an issue. Because the announcers aren't football gurus, right? Some of them played the game. Some of them know the game, but they're not offensive coordinators need to be masterminds. And when the announcers are sitting there and saying that this offense looks abysmal, they're not looking like they're running good concepts. They're either running when it's 3rd and 7 and they got a bunch of deep shots and there's nobody underneath for checkdowns and stuff. And Carr just sitting there like a standing duck. Sometimes he was able to make a play with his feet, like move up in the pocket, step up, look, and there's nothing there because there's nothing creative in the offense. And another time too, I saw Dennis Allen mention this. They were in like 2nd and 4 maybe, and they did that touch pass to I forget, it was a wide receiver, then it was a reverse to Kamara, and it was like 10 yards. Now it's 3rd and 12. You just put yourself out of position to keep the offense in rhythm. That can't happen. So I'll let you. Do you have something about that? I mean,
so that was on the first drive of the game. It went to Taysom Hill, and then Taysom Hill snapped the ball, gave it to Derek Carr. Derek Carr pitched it. Nobody got tricked by Derek Carr. Nobody was worried. Yeah. They had one safety watching him. The other 10 players on the field are watching Alvin Kamara. That's just simply why the play didn't work. And then now see, the thing is about that is last year Pete Carmichael was calling the most boring offensive games possible. There was no movement pre-snap. There was nothing special about the offense. It was all bland football. This year he's getting way too cute. Yeah. He doesn't have that balance when he's calling these games because the offensive line seriously looked better last week. I mean, Carr had his time, but now he's constantly looking 30 yards downfield. There's nothing short, and I just don't know. And the running game, I'll talk on the running game too because a good quarterback needs a good running game. Yeah. Alvin Kamara looked awesome running the football. No one else does. And now that's a small sample size because Kendre Miller had 1 carry after having only 9 carries last week. He's still rookie. He only has 10 carries between his first 4, or really his first 2 games. He doesn't even have much of a sample size. But you need to take some of this pressure off Alvin Kamara. So you got to get this run game going so Alvin Kamara becomes more of a threat in the receiving game, because 13 for 33, I'm assuming someone's just watching him at all times. What, you would already be watching him at all times, but now you're more alert because he's got 13 receptions. He wasn't getting much past the catch. So I think a lot to blame the Pete Carmichael, and that's where I lean. Even though I don't want to give Derek Carr too much of a pass for this game, because he did miss another. It wasn't a deep ball. It was about a 10-yard, 15-yard pass to Olave on the outside, and it was just a bad underneath ball that didn't reach him.
I remember that. Yeah, I remember that one. Yes, but like that's what I mean. Again, every quarterback's going to miss throws, and it's no excuse. It is no excuse. I mean, there's going to be misses throughout a game. The offense needs to be able to. Like, my issue with watching the Saints is, when Carr does miss a throw, it feels like everyone needs to point their finger at him, because it does feel like, holy crap, that was like it will be 3rd and 7. He'll miss a throw and it's like 4th down. It's like, damn, he misses one throw, it completely ends a drive for this offense. And that can't, I don't understand why one mistake is messing up this offense. It should not happen. They should be able to miss throws and still be able to go down and score points. One thing with the run game, you're right. Kamara looked good, but one thing Alan mentioned, and I saw it too, he kept getting tripped up. He has some runs where he bursted through that hole and he tripped up and he got 3 yards. If he stayed on his feet and he didn't get tripped, he might have 12, 15 yards. I mean, that shows me promise. It just shows that. And Dennis Allen also mentioned the turf. I think they changed the turf this year. He said
Something was wrong with it.
Are slipping around, and he said that this is what the NFL wants them to use, this type of turf. But he said they're going to change their cleats for next week, where next time they're at their home game, to try to make sure they're all on the same page with the conditions out there. Another thing mentioned too, Jawan Johnson supposedly was going to be a big part of the game plan this week, and I guess he was a game time decision. I guess he kind of got banged up and they didn't have him out there.
He was active, but he didn't take a snap. He literally jogged on the field on the first drive and jogged right back off.
Yeah. And one other thing I'll mention, I mean, because that hurts the game. Who knows? Maybe Pete Carmichael had a big plan for him that game, and he wasn't. And Foster Moreau was also inactive. And last but not least, the other thing that drives me nuts more than anything, as a coach myself, the lack and the piss poor effort by, and I just saw that one play, but Chris Olave.
I heard a lot about that. I'll be honest, I actually didn't see a lot of it.
Yeah.
But the video surfaced, and yeah, you don't want to see that. And I'll be honest, I don't want to bash too much on Chris Olave about it right now, because it's been absolutely stellar through the first 3 games.
Absolutely.
But I mean, when your QB's looking for somebody, you step up. You don't slow down. If you're looking for anything, and so even though I didn't see much of it, I mean, that's all I've been seeing for the past 3 days, and that honestly upsets you a lot. You don't want to see someone just give up on the field. You don't want to see someone give up. Like, you're 3 games into the season, you're not even below 500 right now. Your QB missed you a few times today. You be a lifeline for your QB. You don't slow down.
And as a coach, that drives me nuts. And one thing I'll tell you about Derek Carr, that drives him nuts. I'm telling you. One thing about Carr is his confidence, his trust. Like, I'm telling you, he turned Aguilar into a 1,000-yard receiver. He turned Zay Jones into almost a 1,000-yard receiver. He had some good shots to Deshaun Jackson. He had great career with Amari Cooper when he had him. He's able to make pretty, okay guys great. Olave is great. And I'll tell you something right now. He has more confidence in Michael Thomas and Rashid Shaheed than he does right now Chris Olave. And that's an issue. Oh, I don't know if it must be something on the practice field. They're just not seeing eye to eye. I really do think there's something there, because I've seen this before. I've seen this before with him. If he doesn't have the confidence to give him the ball, he's not going to give him the ball. So they got to start working. Carr even mentioned in his press conference, he said, we're going to get to work this week and we're going to figure a lot of things out. I think that's kind of going towards Olave, because I'm telling you, I've seen this before with him. He needs to have 100% confidence in the guy. And when he does have that trust and confidence, it's a whole new game. I promise you, it's a whole new game. It's totally different, because he's going to give them 50-50 shots, and they're going to make it happen for him. They're going to make it happen for him because they got really good weapons. What do you think? I mean, as a all-in-all aspect of last game, you got to scratch that one out and look forward. What are you feeling going forward? I mean, what do you think this team's going to figure it out?
So first of all, the defensive performance, it wasn't bad. You don't want to say the defense was bad. The problem there is, first of all, they really held the Bucks to 7 points in the first half, Adam Prentice fumbles the ball right at the 1 yard line, and now the Buccaneers, like, they made that stop in the red zone. Adam Prentice at the 1 yard line fumbles the ball. Bucks get right back. I don't blame that on defense, not one bit.
Nope.
Yeah, I mean, you're asked to stop a team at the 1 yard line, and you're asked to make big stops. So, but let's say, okay, they had those 14 points. The team couldn't get off the field after third down. That's where it all comes down to. I mean, third down was, it's almost like you knew what was coming on third down, because first down you get a good stop. Second down they make it third and manageable, right? 3rd and 7, 3rd and 6, something like that. You know, a first down was coming. Those guys are tired. The drives were long. You're not getting much time to rest, and no, it was a stressful game. Defense, though, our defense is safe. I don't see anything wrong with the defense. Even Isaac Yadom still stepping up. Alontae Taylor probably didn't have as good a game last week as he did this weeks before. But I don't see a problem with the defense, except for the pass rush is non-existent. I mean, and Baker Mayfield climbed the pocket perfectly, but I seen Tristan Wirfs completely take guys out to play. And there's effort there. There is still effort, but they are not getting past one-on-ones. And I don't know what the issue is there. I didn't see much of Cam Jordan that game. I don't know what the rush numbers were, but one of the biggest problems that I've seen was penalties, and I'm not talking about the Saints getting penalized. They are, I don't have the numbers with me right now, but I can tell you right now, the Saints are severely underpenalized compared to their opponents this season. Yeah. And there's no advantage being taken right there. Your opponents are being penalized at crazy numbers. I mean, honestly, every game I've seen opposing teams' fans complain about the penalty, saying the Saint, like, it's against them. Like, it's, and we're not taking advantage of that. You're given back help, it's mistakes by the other team, absolutely. But it's an additional factor on why you should be winning, and there is no advantage being taken there.
And one guy I'll mention from that defense that I've been liking seeing is Brian Brisset. He was my number 2 ranked defensive tackle. He's looking really solid for this team. He's making a lot of plays. I'm loving him. But here, all right, here's another thing I want to mention. Defense is looking good. This team, to me, looks like they're in a solid spot. So I know it's 2-2. I know everyone feel like the sky is falling on top of them. I still feel like they're probably going to go 10-7, and we'll talk about our future prediction in a second. But real fast, the other part of this was the Derek Carr debate. So I just want to give for 2 seconds here why I protect this man a lot, and I'll be honest, because there's a background too, and a lot of people don't understand. In 10 seasons, he's had 9 different head coaches and 9 different offensive. No, now it might be 10 different offensive coordinators with Pete Carmichael. So in 10 seasons, okay, that's how many different head coaches and offensive coordinators he has. He's never had a top 20 defense. He finally has it. Okay, he's been through how many rebuilds now? He was with Dennis Allen right when he first got there, and they started a rebuild with Jack Del Rio. Jack Del Rio started building stuff, then John Gruden came along. John Gruden came along, and then Josh McDaniels. Josh McDaniels gets rid of him, and now he's to New Orleans. New Orleans isn't rebuilding, but it's a new system he needs to learn. So it's a lot of stuff going on for him. He's never had continuity or chemistry at the wide receiver position. When he has had continuity and chemistry, think about Amari Cooper. He was a 1,000-yard receiver. Think about Michael Crabtree when Crabtree was there for more than 2 years. The dude was absolutely going off. I mean, the dude really. Crabtree sort of fallen off towards the back half of his career. He really picked it up when he went with Derek Carr. Nelson Aguilar looked really good with Carr when they started getting continuity and chemistry. Like I said, Zay Jones started looking good. Darren Waller looked good, right? Henry Ruggs that second season finally started to look really, really good for the Raiders. There's so much stuff when this guy has continuity, chemistry, has the same coaching staff and the same play caller for a few years, he's able to put it together. He's never had a top 20 defense. Everyone says, well, he's a loser. He's a loser. He never won. When you don't have a same coaching staff, you don't have a team built around you, you don't have the same weapons, it's tough on a quarterback. And I think the Saints will finally give this to him. So even in year 1, if this team makes the playoffs, which I would be like, I'm all right with that. If they make the playoffs and they don't go far, I'm fine. In year 2, I expect a big jump. But again, if they move on from Pete Carmichael, it's a different play caller. So you really got to be careful, because if you give Carr a 2-year leash and you change play calls in a year and a half, it's going to be tough. So looking at Carr's career, do you think this man has been given, because that's another part of the segment, a fair shot? Has he been, I mean, so far, I don't think so. I mean, maybe you'll say, yes, he has. Quarterbacks go through some stuff. I'll defend any quarterback, though, that goes through stuff like this. But what's your honest take I mean, so far throughout his career, and even year one with New Orleans, I mean, this is a new situation, new team, new teammates. I mean, does he have some slack? I mean, I don't feel like he does because he's brought here to win now. So
Well, when it comes to has he had a fair chance throughout his career, I don't think any quarterback has a fair chance with a bad defense. I mean, unless you're Patrick Mahomes or somebody who can really elevate your offense. But I've watched Drew Brees for so many years bring the team to the playoffs and still not be able to do much because you're giving up 30, 40 points a game. And if Drew Brees can't do it, how much harder is it for Derek Carr to do something like that? So I wouldn't, going towards the head coach and offensive coordinator part, I might be a little more iffy on that. Like, you still got a job that you got to go in and do, and so I'll be a little more iffy on that. But when you don't have a defense that can help you out with these situations, that's when I think it becomes like okay, there's some slack there because you did what you need to do and someone else isn't doing their job.
Yeah.
So I think you got some slack when it comes to the defense and not ever having that top 20 defense. This season, I'm giving so week 1, he actually had a pretty good performance. It didn't look as good at the beginning, but he actually had a pretty okay performance. Terrible interception, but a good performance. But they only scored 17 points, I believe, or 6. It might have been 16 to 15. So they probably scored 16 points week 1, and it's like, okay, first time with this team. Okay, no problem, no problem. You'll get it better next week.
Yeah.
The week after, not as good of a performance, but bounce back in the second quarter, and he's making big time throws in these games. That's winning the game in essential. You're getting a big play that's allowing you to run this clock out, and he did that both week 1 and week 2. Week 3, though, I really wanted to see something, and because that's when you've had 2 games of experience, you should have a step up, and it looked like he had that. Scored. It might not have been on the first drive, but you scored in the first half,
Yeah.
which was they didn't score touchdowns first half all season. So he did, and then they had 17 points going into halftime. One of those being a punt return for touchdown by Shaheed.
That guy is amazing. I just love Shaheed is phenomenal. He really is. I mean, that's a difference making play. So I like him a lot. But go ahead, continue. I'm sorry.
And so like he only had 4 drives of offense in that first half, so you don't know what if he was going to go on an absolute tear, right? He could have put up another touchdown or something. So I thought I was finally seeing that from him, and then the injury happens in week 4. You can't blame it on the injury because he said he's good to go. I really am starting to look at is this really all Pete Carmichael? Because the Carr missed his throws for sure, and he did not want to move that ball downfield. But maybe because every other receiver is downfield and they're not open, so you're throwing to your bottom guys. It's been when I had to write my ups and downs article this week,
which was good. Everyone
go
give it a read. Yeah.
But I was like, I don't know who you look at. I don't know. Can you blame Pete Carmichael all this? Is this Derek Carr? Is this just every single thing, punching you in the mouth at once? You couldn't run the ball really, except for with Alvin Kamara. Your offensive line played pretty well. So that's the one thing that finally went well. Your offensive coordinator is struggling to give you a good game plan, and Derek Carr couldn't make the passes that he needed to make. So there was a lot of things all at once. But I think you still give Derek Carr, you put trust in him because you signed him for $150 million, so you have no choice, really. You still put the trust in him, but I think I need to see something in these next 2 weeks at least. I think that's your timetable, is these next 2 weeks right here, because if you don't see something after 6 games, you only have 10 games remaining, or 17 games now, right? You only have 11 games remaining. Yes. So you really need to see something coming in these next 2 weeks. I need to see that defense do their job, which they have done every single time. The most points that they allowed this season was to the Buccaneers, but can't get off the field. So
that's the biggest concern right now, right? Is that when the defense is playing very good, and then eventually they're going to let up points. I mean, if you don't score points, I'm going to continue to say, and again, I'm a Derek Carr guy, right? But I'm going to continue to say the truth that the defense is doing their job. I mean, they're going to. Baker Mayfield's gonna move around. He's put, like I said, he's playing like his hair's on fire because this is his last chance if he doesn't do anything. This is his last chance. He can throw it all on the line, right? If he gets hurt, so be it, but he needs to play that way. The Saints are playing good enough to win. They just haven't been able to put everything together. Once this team that's why I feel like if this team can just punch their way to the playoffs, man, I'm telling you, this is a team that can get to the Super Bowl. And who the hell, again, I don't want to put that out there and say, they're going to make the Super Bowl, make them have to live up to that. But I think this team has the defense and has the offense to be able to do so. So let me ask you this now. Let's sum this up. how far can Derek Carr take the Saints? Now, this doesn't mean Derek Carr specifically, right? I'm just saying the Saints. How far can he help get this team go? So your prediction right now is what? Give me like a roundabout record, whether or not they make the playoffs and how far into the playoffs, if not all the way to the Super Bowl. What's
If
your
this offense can average 24, 25 points per game, man, this team is an 11-win, 12-win team. Just because that defense is that elite, I don't think you don't have to give much credit to the offense, even though the playmakers are there. But the defense is your bread and butter of this team. Your head coach is a defensive man. I think they can get 11 and 12 wins, but not with what I've been seeing. What I have been seeing is not an 11 and 12 win team, because if you're holding teams to 17 points a game and you're scoring 15, you're going to go 50-50 after that time. But if Derek Carr can get it going, which I believe he will in these next 2 weeks, Pete Carmichael finally, takes it with his chin and finally calls these games the way you're supposed to. Don't be too cute, but don't be so bland that no one's moving before the snap. And get these guys open midfield, short field. Give Chris Olave and Rashid Shaheed rack chances. Give these guys. I haven't seen Michael Thomas. There is something. Michael Thomas has ran 10 slants this season.
Yep.
4 games, 10 slants. I don't know if we're trying to prove very wrong he's not slant man. Give that man a slant. Let him run 10, 15, 20. It works.
Do it again.
Give Michael Thomas a slant. Let him run that ball. We are getting no yards after catch at all. This is a hitch route, 5-yard catch. Run the ball for 2 yards. Derek Carr gets sacked on 3rd down. That's what this offense is.
And that's what I'm saying. And that's exactly why when people start pointing fingers, I can't point it. I watched every game. I've been watching more Saints games than I have Raiders games. I really have no use for that. That team right there, Raiders, I have no use for them. None. I'd rather watch the Saints at this point. And when I watch the Saints play, it's just 5-yard hitch route, 5-yard hitch route, 5-yard hitch route, sack, run the ball for 2 yards. You got to be a little bit, physical. I want to see is Jamal Williams coming back anytime soon? Or is he down? Right?
I have no idea. I can't tell you right now.
You need someone to punch him in the mouth, man. You need someone that can punch the defense in the mouth. Be a little bit physical. Swing pass to Kamara, 5 yard. Hand it off to Jamal Williams. Punch him in the mouth for 3 yards. Then throw that slant route to Thomas, 3-4 yards. Then take a double move shot to Olave down the sideline. You gotta get creative. You gotta stop. Look, Taysom Hill is a dog. He really is. He runs some people over. But this Taysom Hill stuff, running Carr off the field every other play, having him run all the way back out, does it work sometimes? Yes. But I'm just getting tired of this fake offense. Go a little bit of old school. That's what worked for the Raiders. They did an I formation, old school offense. You get a fullback that can block and a running back that can run. You punch the defense in the mouth. You run some slants, and then you set up the deep ball. That's what can win this team games. They got the personnel. They just don't have the play caller. Pete Carmichael has to do a better job setting up some deep shots for the offense. This is my opinion. I believe the New Orleans Saints will finish with a record of around a 10-7 record, ultimately probably make the divisional round. And again, I mean, if they can piece a few wins together, you don't freaking know what can happen in the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
They can win the divisional round during the conference. If they pull that game out, they're in the damn Super Bowl. So you really don't know. But I feel like saying them making it to the divisional round, even if they lose the divisional round, that's an absolute success story for year one for the Saints team with Derek Carr. I believe so. And another thing, I don't know where you fall with the Dennis Allen slander. I honestly don't mind. He's doing a good job with that defense. So they just got to figure out the offense. If they can do so, this team will be a constant playoff team. What's your final take? We got 2 minutes. Do you feel like that's a fair assessment around that divisional round? And what do you got?
I mean, I think playoffs is the fair thing if it's wild card divisional. I think playoffs is definitely there, but right now you're now not leading division anymore. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers lead the NFC South. I think they were given the worst chance this season to lead it, and look who's doing it. And they're playing good football. Baker Mayfield looks good, so I don't truly know what you have in the Buccaneers. I really don't. They look like a good team. I don't know if our offense was that bad. I haven't been watching too much of them, but they look like a good team. So I don't know what you really have in them, but I do know the Saints have the best quarterback right now, and they're not showing that.
Yep.
I mean, your points per games are the same as the Falcons with Desmond Ridder.
Yeah, no, that can't be happening. Again, that cannot be happening. So I agree with you. I mean, it needs to be fixed, and I'm hoping that they can get into the laboratory. Hopefully, man, I'm hoping John, Coach Brew, will call up Pete Carmichael and just give him a few tips on what to do here, because there is so much more. This is the most talented offense, I feel like, besides the offensive line maybe, that Carr's played for, and the best defense by far. So there is really no excuse for this team not to be winning more games. And again, I kind of blame that more on coaching, but we'll see what happens. That's all from us. Let us know what you think in the comment section below. Kyle, I appreciate having you on. We got a lot more of these coming forward, hopefully. Go check out his articles and check out 504.saints, right, on YouTube?
Yep.
On Instagram. On Instagram. Yep. Go check them out. It's great content. We'll see you guys soon. Peace. We are Built Betters.
180. 180, set.
Hehehehe